Folks, we have another gear situation here. A situation where I discovered a very important topic that has yet to be discussed by yours truly. And that topic? Thulecite. Flippin' Thulecite, everyone. My gosh, how could this video have eluded us for all this bloody time? Especially given how bloody important this stuff actually is. I don't know. But we're here to fix that, I suppose, by talking Thulecite fragments, chunks, sources, uses, and more. So let's get to it. And as one could have probably guessed, a lot of our time today will be spent down in the caves. Specifically, the many branches of the ruins, like the village biome here. Quite possibly the first place one will ever even encounter the ancient resource, actually. Still, if you're looking for a whole mess of the stuff, the ruins proper is gonna be the best place to be, so I'd be prepared there. That said, we will still navigate the twists and turns of the labyrinth, and by extension the atrium, I suppose, for the prospect of ornate chests and their loot, of course. But finally, the Ancient Archive is not only one of our newest destinations in the game, but also a phenomenal place to actually farm. Yes, farm Thulecite fragments. But more on that later. Cause for now, know that darn near every source to follow is renewable through defeating the ancient fuel weaver, everyone. Not everything, mind you, but I'll tell you when it doesn't actually apply. However, it's still a good bit of them anyways, so make notes. But unfortunately, this first source is actually one of those very rare situations where a ruins reset will not work. Still, Thulecite walls are highly abundant and can potentially drop 2 fragments each time. Well, if they generated as fully formed, that is. Otherwise, they only drop 1 fragment per hammer smash, but what have you. But totally broken walls drop nothing. However, with Thulecite walls being found in the village biomes, the ruins proper still, and now even in the ancient archives, I really wouldn't worry about their renewability, folks. And by the by, archival walls here always generate fully formed. So each one is going to be a guaranteed 2 fragments if you make it here. And that's good stuff. Don't stray too far from the ruins proper though, as damaged clockwork knights, bishops, and rooks all have a 50% chance to drop a single fragment of Thulecite. So as you're going about smashing some walls here, you might actually just consider some murder along the way too. Not the best source mind, but it ain't the worst either. So good luck. But here's our first case of quote-unquote double sourcing, if you will. Ornate chests. Found in the labyrinth and of course the atrium if you happen to go there. These occasionally trapped chests have a 20% chance at rolling 2 to 4 fragments of Thulecite, along with a 10% chance at 1 to 3 Thulecite chunks to boot. Not bad at all. But as I said, they're usually trapped, so be mindful there. Or you can just simply ignore most of them completely in favor of a much larger ornate chest following an ancient guardian kill. Now this thing also has a chance of both fragments and chunks appearing within it, yes, only at a much higher quantity for sure. Not only that, higher chances to boot. There's a 50% chance at 12 to 36 fragments, and a 75% chance at 5 to 12 chunks. Oh yeah, these are definitely worth your time if you're after this stuff. But they're kind of one and done, unless you kill the fuel weaver, of course. Moving on, however, to cave holes, as they too might generate with either fragments and or chunks within them, with both having a 29% chance of doing so. Now we'll see 5 to 8 fragments per cave hole, and 1 to 3 chunks. And we'll also be needing a lazy forager to actually retrieve them all, so make note there. But just think of cave holes as like mini bonuses, really. Just kind of there if you want them at the end of the day. But already our final fragment source of the day might just be the best yet. Well, for late game, really. But still, it's gonna be worth noting. Dust moths and their tidy hidey holes here. Now once you do the whole shindig with these creatures, we can mine their now ornate homes for 3 to 7 Thulecite fragments, as well as having a whopping 1% chance to get 1 Thulecite chunk. Now that might not seem too enticing. However, we can just do this over and over and over again as much as we please once we reach this point. But yeah, how do we get to this point? Well, we must first activate the Ancient Archive via socketing a third and final iridescent gem into the archival switch following a Moonstone event. We must then navigate the archives in search of a very specific toilet with red water specifically in order to flush it for something called a distilled knowledge. We must next take said distilled knowledge to the ancient Orchestrina here in order to open it by solving said Orchestrina's puzzle in order to learn the recipe for something called collected dust, as you can see. We then make as much dust as we can and toss it into a crockpot and or ancient kiln here with practically whatever you want, which in turn will lead us to a special recipe called Amberosia. And finally, we can feed said Amberosia to one of these dust moth things to get them to return to their homes to start the Thulecite farming process that we saw finish earlier. Yup, it's a whole thing. But it's very efficient in later worlds, especially when compared to having to kill the Fuel Weaver over and over again with that whole cycle nonsense. But I digress. What are Thulecite fragments actually good for? Well, most folk are just going to simply turn them into actual Thulecite chunks, as they are what go into a lot of the ancient crafts, of course, and not really the fragments themselves. However, the little guys still do have some uses here and there, like repairing Thulecite walls perhaps. Now, it's not advised to actually use them as such, as you'll use more in building them up before you actually smash them to pieces, but if you've decorated with them up above on the surface or anywhere you bloody choose at the end of the day, then here you go. This is how you fix them. Otherwise, just stick to smashing them and collecting the fragments for later use. Thulecite fragments can also help repair broken ancient pseudoscience stations here. However, this is absolutely ill-advised at the end of the day. Why? Well, considering how it takes 6 full Thulecite chunks to repair these things, it's going to cost you 36 Thulecite fragments to do the same job. Yeah, not good. Not good at all. Now, you could also argue that using Thulecite and Thulecite fragments to quote-unquote farm Slurtle is also a total waste, but they are one of the better resources to do so technically, so I would make a little note there, I suppose. And lastly, Thulecite fragments are needed by Walter players if they wish to make sets of cursed rounds here. Now, one Thulecite fragment equates to 10 rounds, which is not bad considering how a cursed round not only deals 51 damage a hit, but also potentially spawns shadow tentacles for additional damage. That's good stuff. But actually, here's the good stuff. Full Thulecite chunks share some sources with fragments as we've seen, yes, but they actually have a number of their own to boot, like ancient statues here. Found solely in the ruins, these statues drop 1 Thulecite guaranteed, with a mere 5% chance at 1 extra. They are renewed through a ruins reset though, so there's that. New ancient moon statues are now a thing, and they're found in the ancient archives, of course. They're essentially ancient statues, yes, without the potential for gems and or any of that nightmare cycle nonsense that might arise. But they drop 1 Thulecite guaranteed with no chance at more, so make notes. Broken ancient pseudoscience stations themselves not only drop 2 Thulecite guaranteed, but upon being hammered might just drop more with its random spawn mechanic thingy. Be careful though, chances are you're gonna get more danger out of this. Relics, specifically vase relics, can drop Thulecite 0.9% of the flippin' time, but don't even bother really. Relics are just kinda weird, everyone, so learn up on how elsewhere for now. And lastly, even sunken chests could roll a Thulecite or 2. Or 8 even. Yes, everyone, we can actually get Thulecite without ever entering the caves if we wanted, and that's pretty neat actually. I mean, it's bloody worthless above ground, but still, this here is a unique source nonetheless, so make note. Ah, but what if I told you that we ourselves could be a source of the stuff? See how Thulecite suits cost 6 Thulecite and 4 nightmare fuel, everyone? Well, equip another ancient craft called a construction amulet, and the materials needed to make it drop to half of that. So proceed to craft 5 suits, as an amulet only works 5 times, mind you, and it will come out to cost in 15 Thulecite and 10 nightmare fuel, correct? Correct. So we can then turn around and deconstruct all 5 suits immediately to actually net both 3 Thulecite and 2 Nightmare Fuel for each one deconstructed. Essentially, quote unquote, farming Thulecite each time. Not bad. But speaking of all this ancient crafting nonsense, Thulecite is obviously very important to almost every craft under the tab, and they're all pretty darn good, highly coveted after rights. But I don't really think we need to spend time on each and every one of them. Why? Well, for one thing, we already have. For another, covering over a dozen individual crafts in a video already as long as this one is not gonna fly. With you or me. So then, have some fun with Thulecite yourself when you get the chance. And there you have it, everyone. A long overdue guide on Thulecite within Don't Starve Together. Now, I don't think I'm overselling things when I say that it's quite possibly the most important material in the game, especially as of late. So I hope you learned up on it here today. Now, it might be a bit dangerous to get every now and then, but trust me, it's gonna be worth it. Thanks for watching, folks. Well wishes to all. Praise the moon. And I'll see ya in the next one. Bye-bye.